Most people spend their entire lives believing intelligence is something you're either born with or you're not. That belief has kept millions of people from reaching their full potential. But here's what history actually shows us, and it might completely change the way you see yourself. Albert Einstein was called slow as a child. His teachers genuinely believed he lacked basic intelligence. Charles Darwin was an average student who struggled with memorization. Thomas Edison was expelled from school and labeled unteachable. And yet these three men permanently changed the way humanity thinks. So what happened? Their genes didn't change. Their schools didn't suddenly get better. What changed were their habits, and those habits literally rewired how their brains worked. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 habits that neuroscience confirms can increase your intelligence and show you exactly how the greatest minds in history used them long before science could explain why. The first habit is deep thinking without input. Most people assume intelligence grows by consuming more videos, more podcasts, more content. But neuroscience actually shows the opposite. Your brain becomes sharper when it's forced to think without any input at all. This activates what scientists call the default mode network, the system responsible for abstract thinking, creative insight, and long-term reasoning. Einstein didn't spend all his time calculating at a desk. He imagined. He asked himself, what happens if I chase a beam of light? What happens if gravity bends space itself? He would walk alone for hours with no books, no notes, and no distractions, just pure, uninterrupted thought. Modern studies confirm that people who practice undistracted thinking consistently score higher in problem-solving, strategic reasoning, and creative intelligence. The habit here is simple but uncomfortable. Take a daily thinking walk with no phone, no music, and no input. At first it feels boring, then it feels uncomfortable. Then something shifts. That discomfort you feel is not wasted time. That is your intelligence expanding. The second habit is struggling before you seek help. Highly intelligent people don't rush to answers. They delay help on purpose. Psychologists call this productive struggle, and the reason it works is straightforward. Your brain strengthens when it tries, fails, adjusts, and tries again. Benjamin Franklin trained himself this exact way. He would read an essay, close it, and then attempt to rewrite the entire thing from memory. Only after fully struggling through it would he compare his version to the original. This process forced his brain to retrieve, reorganize, and refine, not just passively absorb. Brain imaging studies now show that struggle activates far deeper neural pathways than passive explanation ever could. This is exactly why instant answers feel productive but disappear from memory within days. Before you ask for help or look something up, write your best attempt at an answer first, even if it's completely wrong. Struggle is not a sign of low intelligence. It is the very mechanism that builds it. The third habit is writing to think, not to record. Most people write to store information. Smart people write to clarify their thinking. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks weren't organized essays. They were filled with questions, diagrams, half-formed ideas, and contradictions. They weren't neat, they were alive. Writing slows your brain down and forces it to detect gaps, make vague ideas precise, and confront what you don't actually understand yet. Research from Princeton and UCLA found that writing by hand improves conceptual understanding far more than typing or reading because writing is thinking made visible. The habit is keeping a daily thinking journal, and not one that answers what did I do today, but one that wrestles with questions like what do I actually understand, what confused me, and what idea still feels unfinished. Intelligence doesn't grow where thoughts are collected. It grows where they are examined. The fourth habit is building mental models. High-performing thinkers don't just accumulate facts, they understand how systems work. Charlie Munger described this as building a latticework of mental models. Physics teaches you cause and effect. Biology teaches adaptation. Psychology reveals how bias shapes decision. Economics shows you how incentives drive behavior. When your brain learns across multiple domains, it develops what researchers call transfer intelligence, the ability to take an idea from one field and apply it powerfully in a completely different context. This is why the great polymaths of history dominated every era they lived in. Aristotle, Leonardo da Vinci, Goethe, they didn't just know more, they could connect more. Modern research confirms that cross-domain learners score significantly higher in fluid intelligence, which is the ability to reason through entirely new situations. The habit is simple. Every single week, learn one concept outside your usual field. Not deeply, just conceptually. Your brain doesn't get smarter by going deeper into one tunnel. It gets smarter when ideas from different worlds start connecting. The fifth habit is deliberate memory training. Memory and intelligence are not separate things. Memory is foundational to intelligence. Nikola Tesla could visualize a complete mechanical system in his mind, mentally rotate every component, and test it for flaws before a single part was ever built. Ancient scholars trained memory deliberately because they understood something modern culture has forgotten. A sharper memory creates faster, more powerful reasoning. Techniques like active recall, spaced repetition, and mental visualization don't just store information. They physically reorganize neural networks in your brain. MRI studies show that people who train their memory develop denser and more efficient brain connections over time. The habit is this: before you review your notes, try to recall everything first. Explain ideas without looking anything up. Teach what you've learned to someone else. Memory is not a talent you're born with. It is a skill you build deliberately. The sixth and final habit is protecting your cognitive energy. Smart people don't try to think hard all day long. They think when their brain is at its strongest, and then they rest without guilt. Charles Darwin worked only 4 to 5 focused hours per day. The rest of his time was spent walking, resting, and reflecting. Chronic stress, sleep deprivation, and constant stimulation directly damage executive function, which is one of the core components of measured intelligence. Your brain does not upgrade during hustle. It upgrades during recovery. The habit is to sleep deeply, move your body every day, get natural sunlight, and allow yourself to be bored. Boredom is not laziness. It is cognitive recovery, and it is where some of your best thinking will quietly begin. Here is the truth that ties all of this together. Intelligence does not increase through hacks or shortcuts. It increases through habits practiced consistently over time. The smartest people in history didn't obsess over becoming intelligent. They built systems, daily, disciplined systems, that allowed intelligence to grow naturally as a result. If you want to think more clearly, learn faster, and build a genuinely stronger mind, start with your habits, not your information intake. A smarter you is not something you find. It is something you build, one day at a time. If this video shifted something in the way you think about intelligence, do me a favor and share it with someone who still believes their IQ is fixed, because they need to hear this. And if you want more science-based content on thinking, learning, and mental performance, subscribe to Zach, because we are just getting